Okay, I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us today. Again, my name is Matt McLaughlin, and I am joined by my colleague Brian Burchanowski. And today we're going to be discussing offline Gmail, calendar, and docs for Google Apps. For those of us that actually are not familiar with the GoToWebinar interface that we are using today for the presentation, this is what you will see listed as an attendee. You are an attendee and you are muted by default throughout the presentation, but there are two different ways to ask questions, and we do encourage that you do ask questions during this presentation. We'll be able to answer those for you. And the most effective way to ask a question is to enter your question into the questions panel that is listed there, highlighted by the red box. You can simply click in there, type your question. Brian and I will be notified, and we'll be able to answer your question for you. And if you're connected to the audio and you do have a microphone, or you're connected to the telephone and able to speak into that, you can ask your question verbally. And the best way to do that is to simply raise your hand using the side panel that stems off of the main GoToWebinar panel there. You see the raise hand icon pointed out by the red arrow there. You'll see that. You can click on that and your hand will be raised, and we'll be notified of that as well. So why Dido? Well, Dido in a whole, we offer project management for your Google Apps deployment. We also offer technical configuration when it comes to configuring your domain with all the proper settings for the deployment itself. We offer the communications and change management to ensure that yourself and your users are properly notified of all things happening and all things that are going to be changing. We also offer total care support in the form of administrative support, so that if there is an issue that needs to be resolved or you have a general question, we offer that service, and you can lean on Dido for all of your answers there. We also work with custom app development. If you're interested in something like that, please feel free to contact us, and we'll show you ways at the end of the presentation to do so. We are a Google Apps authorized reseller. We were featured in the Google I/O Sandbox in 2010 and 2011. And we are also Google Postini Services authorized. And when you put Google, the product, and Dido, the service, together, you have the perfect solution. So during today's session, I'm going to pass it over to Brian here in just a moment, and he's going to be discussing offline Gmail, calendar, and docs. And we'll take you through the process of installing these applications, and we'll also give you a quick demo of how this will work without actually going offline. So to get the full experience, you do have to be offline, but we'll show you all the way up to the point of disconnecting from the internet. We're also going to discuss page level permissions in Google Sites. We're going to be discussing charts in Google Sites, as well as vertical merge in Spreadsheets. And some of those are just really nice, neat features that have been released recently by Google, so we'll give you a quick intro to that. And we'll wrap things up today with a look at the updated Apps Status Dashboard. The Apps Status Dashboard is, again, the first place you would want to visit, one of the first places you want to visit if you were experiencing an issue with your Google Apps system, whether it was Gmail, Calendar, Docs, or Sites, anything there, and it will show you if there is a known issue and what they are doing to resolve it. So with that, thank you again for joining us, and Brian, you can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much, Matt. So as you all can see here, there are a lot of exciting new features that we're going to show you, and not least of which is the new offline Gmail, Calendar, and Docs for Google Chrome. So this was a sort of a long-awaited feature, and we're going to do an explanation of how you would install these products, and also do a little demonstration so that you get kind of a preview of what it looks like to work in offline Gmail. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is how you would go about installing offline Gmail. So actually the easiest way is to just do a Google search. So if we search for offline Gmail, there are really two links here that jump out at us right at the top. There's the sponsored link that directs us to the Chrome Web Store, and there is a Google support site link as well. So if we click on the sponsored link, and I know that some people may tend to shy away from this because it's an ad, but it is an official Google link. If we click on this, it takes us directly to the Chrome Web Store, And this is what you would see. You see it says offline Google Mail. And we have to, now in my case, I already have offline Gmail installed, so it's asking me if I want to launch the app. It would actually ask you if to install that if you don't already have it. An alternate way to get to this page is, again, through the support site. So if we click on the second link, this is the Google Help site, the Google support site. So in the offline portion, they actually have a little blurb here that Google has added at the top, and there's a link to click to install Gmail offline for Chrome, and you can see it takes us to the same page. Once we click install, there's basically a little pop-up window that comes up, and we just have to choose whether or not we agree to install offline mail. And what you're agreeing to is essentially a sync process that downloads a portion of your inbox to your computer locally. So let's take a look at what offline Gmail looks like once you've installed that. So this is Chrome, and you can see that I have this link here for offline mail. And if I click on it, it actually pulls up my inbox. And so this is what offline mail looks like. And a thing to note about the initial sync process is that it can take a bit of time depending on how much mail you have. Typically, offline Gmail is not going to pull more than 10,000 messages down from the web to your computer, and at the minimum amount of the minimum time frame is going to be about 1 week of mail. So hopefully you don't have 10,000 messages a week, but minimum time frame is a week. The maximum amount of mail is 10,000. A lot of people probably that's equals probably about several years. So that initial process of downloading the mail can take a little bit of time. So you do have to be patient. You can continue to use Gmail while that's happening, and you are able to actually pause it while it's going on as well. If you have to disconnect from the internet for any reason, you can then resume it later. And so that again, that is the initial synchronization process. After that, syncing typically only takes a few moments once you log on to the web. So a few features that we want to point out in offline Gmail. You can see that the basic layout is a bit different than the normal Gmail. It actually has the split view by default. But overall, the options are more or less the same. In order to compose a new message, you click Compose here, and you have your basic to and CC, BCC fields. One thing to note is that when you click Send, obviously if you're offline, it's not going to be sent right away. It's actually queued up, and it's sent the next time you log into the internet. There is an outbox in offline Gmail, so you can go in there and view messages in your outbox. You can delete them, etc. So that's basically offline Gmail in a nutshell. Don't want to spend too long on it. I mean, it's very similar to the normal online Gmail. It just gives you the flexibility to work, especially when you're on the go or someplace without reliable internet connection. Well, let's take a brief look at offline Calendar and Docs. So we're going to have screenshots here of the screen that we actually saw this on the live web page. This is the pop-up window that you get when you go to install mail initially. You have to allow offline mail and agree. Again, and then I have a screenshot here of what the Google Calendar page looks like. It's very similar to the Gmail process. If I go to Calendar, again, it's a link here in Chrome. It opens up a calendar that looks pretty much identical to the calendar you're used to working with. However, when you're offline, you aren't able to create any events or modify anything. It's basically view only, but you will be able to view all of your event details, etc. Let's jump back and look at Google Docs. The install process for Docs is actually a little bit different. When you're in Docs, you would go to the gear in the upper right-hand corner, similar to where you would access your settings, and you should see a Setup Docs Offline Beta option. And so once you do that, it's going to prompt you via a pop-up to allow offline docs, and so you have to agree to that first of all. And then once you agree, we have an install from the Chrome Web Store option, and so when we click on that, it basically links us to the Chrome Web Store. We can then add to Chrome.
Hey, Brian.
So it's just an example of like an alternate. Mm-hmm.
Hey, sorry to interrupt there. I thought we had a little break there. We did have a good question that came in really quickly, and it's just how do you add those links to Google Chrome, or are they placed there automatically? And I believe the answer is that once you've downloaded them from the Google Chrome store, they will be placed in your Chrome browser. So when you open up Chrome, typically you see that first page that has all the apps that you've downloaded, the most recently visited websites, the recently closed websites, and the little icons that you saw, such as the one there, Brian, if you want to pull that up there, you'll see these underneath of your apps section there, and offline mail, calendar, and docs will all appear there after downloading.
Yeah, and that's correct. So I actually didn't do anything special to make these appear in Chrome. Now, you can collapse or expand these different categories, but these appeared automatically, and so it's kind of like a an quick and easy way to get to these offline apps. Okay, so now that we've seen how to go about installing the offline docs, let's just take a quick look. Again, it doesn't really look that much different than your normal Google Docs, but one important thing to point out with offline docs is that you are only able to access the normal Google documents like Word documents and spreadsheets. And furthermore, these are only view only basically, so you're not actually able to make edits to them offline. So it's still useful if you need to go back and reference them. However, you will have to be connected to the web in order to make changes. So that's basically our preview of the new offline services for Chrome in a nutshell. Let's jump back to the agenda, and we'll take a look at some of the other features that we have. Some other exciting features, especially if you're a big fan of Google Sites. There were two recent updates to Sites, so let's take a look at those. We have page level permissions and the ability to insert charts. So I'll go ahead and minimize this. I actually have a kind of a dummy or a test site that I created, and I already have that pulled up. And so let's take a look at page level permissions first. So the first thing we want to look at is how do you enable page level permissions, and then we'll look at how to use them in practice. So in order to enable them, you would have to go to the share icon in the upper right hand corner, and it takes you to this manage site page. And from this sharing and permissions page, there is now a link in the upper right hand corner that says enable page level permissions. So if we click that, it gives us the option to, well, it's recommending we read the Getting Started guide, etc. We have to click Turn on Page Level Permissions to enable that. And so now what we have is basically a list of the various pages of the site and the ability to sort of lock them down as far as permissions go. So let me click on, let's say, the Files page. And you can see that this is the, by default, it's inheriting the permissions of the site as a whole. And if I want to change the permissions for this particular page, I have to click Change right here. And so I basically have two options. I can start with the list below, and I can include any future changes to the site. or I can start with the list below and ignore future changes to the site. So we are kind of limited in that you're not able to, after the fact, add additional people. So it's not quite permissions in the same respect as Google Docs, where you can just add names at any time. What you have to do is start with a certain group of people that you would like to have access to this page. They would already have to have access to the entire site, but you can lock down certain pages. So say if you want to make your site public or public to the company or something like that, you could lock down certain pages to be visible only to the people who are able to see the site before you added new permission or new people to the visibility. And once we've made our choice, we can click Save, and we can see that that's then affected pretty much immediately. So going back to the agenda, the next thing that we have is the ability to insert charts in Google Sites. And so let's demonstrate that briefly. So I already have this site open. What I'm going to do is jump back to the home page here. And I'm going to click Edit as if I were going to make changes to the page. And so those of you who are somewhat familiar with Google Sites are probably familiar with how to insert different objects onto a page. So we just go to the Insert menu here at the top. And one of the new features is the ability to insert a chart. So you'll see this option now along with everything else. And so this is a chart from a Google spreadsheet. Again, so we have to first choose the spreadsheet where we're going to source the chart from. So I've actually created a chart, like a sample chart in this spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one. And then this is the chart that I created, so I'll make sure this is selected. You can change the size, the title, etc. Click Save when you're finished, so you can see that this is now embedded. And go ahead and click Save. And now we can see the chart is actually inserted into the site page. So definitely a good way to kind of enrich your pages, add a little bit of color, and also a very interesting way to kind of integrate charts from your spreadsheets into the site. So it ties spreadsheets and sites even closer. So jumping back, the next thing that we have on our list here is vertical merge in spreadsheets. And so this is actually a really simple feature. It's not going to take long at all to demonstrate, but it was also a highly requested feature. So let me go ahead and pull open that spreadsheet that I was just using to show you the chart. And so you'll notice now if I select some different cells, if we go up here, this is the normal Merge Cells button. But now when we click, there's actually a drop down, and so we can choose to merge either horizontally or vertically. And so if I select vertically, you can see that we have a vertical merge. So again, something that's very simple, but also highly requested. So those of you who are big Spreadsheets fans may be excited about that update. The last thing that we have to show you is a change to the Google Apps Status Dashboard. So this is of particular interest to those of you who are administrators. The first thing that you want to do if there's an outage or an error, or it seems to be an outage, you want to know right away what's happening. So if you go to this website, google.com/appstatus, and I'm sure that many of you, again, are already familiar with where this is located, you'll see that there are actually a number of changes to this site. So in addition to just kind of cosmetic changes, there are a few changes to the actual features or functionality of the site as well. So these pieces here will display, well, an icon will display only when there's a service disruption. So in the past, there were just lots of check marks here. Now it's blank, and you'll only see something if there is a disruption, so it really stands out a lot more. Like here's one. Also, the size of the dot is an indicator of the duration of the disruption. And if it's an extended disruption, you'll see a line. These dots here next to each different app actually indicate the status. So similar to the old check marks, a green dot will indicate that there are no issues currently. Orange indicates a disruption, and red is an outage. And then lastly, one of the most requested features was for admins to be able to get more information about these outages much more quickly and easily. So what Google has done is they've made it so that you can click on these dots now, and it will actually pull up a description of the outage, along with updates and so forth. So some major improvements, both aesthetically and as far as functionality, to the app status dashboard. Oops. So that's basically all of the updates that we wanted to go over for today, the offline and some of the changes to various other Google apps. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand it back to Matt. Let me jump ahead here to our blog slide. He's going to talk a little bit about the DydoWeb blog before we do our wrap-up and open it up for further questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian, and great presentation there. Really appreciate it. And we did want to talk about the blog that Dido does have available to everybody out there, actually, not just our people that we work closely with, but to the whole world. So tell your friends, right? So really, to access the blog, you go to blog.dydoweb.com. And how do I, as the administrator or end user, utilize the Dido blog? Well, when you actually navigate to the Dido blog, what you'll see is a list of blogs that we have posted, and what they contain is information on updates that may be happening, maybe some workflows that we want to cover that we've found internally, as well as maybe other clients of ours or people we work closely with have discovered. And we feel that the information that we're providing is very useful information, not only to administrators, but to end users as well. And again, it's just a nice central location for all things Google Apps. At the end of every blog post that we have, there is a section for comments. And we really encourage you all to visit that and actually leave a comment. And we'd really like to get some user feedback from everybody on maybe future posts that people would like to see. Maybe there are items that you're looking to accomplish within your organization, and maybe we could do a blog post on how we could possibly help, or how Google Apps can help in general. So please do take some time. There's a couple of different ways to actually gain access to the blog. You could just go to blog.dydoweb.com, or at the top of the page there, you can subscribe to the RSS feeds with posts, or subscribe to the post there, pardon me, and also comments. So feel free to join us that way as well, or just bookmark it in your Google Chrome browser. But yes, it's a great place to get some information, and we look forward to seeing you stopping by. And maybe let's go ahead and before we talk about some of the next steps, were there any questions that we had out in the floor there about any of the features that we discussed with the page level permissions as well as offline? We'll go ahead and open it up now to any questions, and Brian and I'll be able to answer those for you. So please feel free to ask any questions there. Okay. One question that we have here, will we see any future updates to offline calendar and docs with more permissions there? I'm not sure at the moment, but I have a feeling that they are embarking on making offline a very robust way to view your calendar events, your documents, and your mail as well. And I'm sure they're always looking to improve. So just keep an eye out. We'll keep you all posted via the blog and our other ways to release information. So if we do hear something, we'll definitely let you know. Great question. Thank you. Okay. Well, if we don't have any questions, any further questions this time, we really appreciate you all joining us today, and we'll finish up with the next steps to with our presentation here. We'd like for you to, again, we discussed the Dido blog. It's a great way to stay up to date on the latest Google Apps features and, what Dido is doing. And we're also available on Facebook at facebook.com/DidoLLC. We do have 2 Twitter accounts where we post information and updates and just any kind of information there at DidoWeb and at DidoTrainer. You can feel free to follow us on Twitter. And if you'd like to view today's webinar or any webinars in the past that we have done, you can visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/DidoLLC. And we do have one more webinar this month that is available to everybody, and it's going to be on Google Apps tips and tricks, and it will be held on Halloween Day, which is Monday, October 31st, 2011 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that URL to join is tiny.didoweb.com/second free October webinar. And since we had 2 this month, we titled them accordingly. And feel free to join us for that session. We'd love to have you. And we'll go ahead and leave it open just a few more minutes for any further questions. But if not, thank you again for joining us, Brian. Thank you for the amazing presentation. We really appreciate your time. And we look forward to working with you all soon.